Hello, heathens. Welcome to Girls Gone Godless, the podcast where we don't serve men or their gods, but we do serve looks and the cold, hard truth. I'm Aaliyah.
I'm Christina.
And I'm Noe.
On today's episode, we sit down with the incredible Eman, who is a super multi-talented artist, author, singer, and outspoken content creator that focuses on unpacking and educating about the harm of Abrahamic religions, particularly Islam, the faith that she grew up in. We love to see her fearless hot takes where she puts men in their place and educates the masses, all while being incredibly stunning and so damn smart. Welcome, Eman. We are so excited to hear more of your story.
Eman, I just wanted to say, there's no way that the creator of the universe would ever want you to cover up that beautiful hair. And so that's how I know that Islam is false. I just wanted to throw that out there.
You're hilarious. Oh my God. That's really an interesting point because I saw a video a couple of days ago of an African girl being like, the hijab is inherently anti-African because you're not supposed to compress this type of hair and, force it on a cover and hide it. And it's really hard to do that anyway with the texture of it unless you're damaging it. I didn't even know my hair was like this until 5 years ago when I got my first cut from a curly hair stylist.
Oh, wow.
And she's the one who shaped it for me and dried it like this. And I was like, what? This is its natural texture, but it was never styled like this. So it looked completely different. And just that alone gave me such a boost of confidence. I was like, man, to think that I was under the spell of covering my hair and my body for a man is just...
Yeah. No, I think I saw the exact same TikTok that you're mentioning because in African culture, your hair is what tells so much about you. It tells, where you're from. It says your age and your wealth and class status. So to cover that up is oppressive. And as a Black American, hair is a big part of our culture too. It's how we share love amongst one another. And so to cover that up just feels automatically oppressive to me.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm not sure because I don't have very much background in any religions.
Right.
Is the covering of hair, is it to be closer to God? Because I know Catholics cover their hair too. In church, they wear hats or kerchiefs, stuff like that. There's a lot of religions that do.
So I think that it started off as a spiritual thing because I know that in spirituality, your hair is kind of like an antenna. So your hair picks up energies from other people's fields. And so to just cover your crown is a spiritual act of closing off your energy field from being, stolen or interfered with. But
Okay.
I think that in the religion of Islam specifically, and I've done a lot of research on this, the history of it is so weird and demeaning, but they have convinced themselves that it's beautiful. And I'll explain how. Basically, the guy who originated the religion of Islam, his name is Muhammad. I'm sure you guys know of Muhammad. So he had a wife who was relieving herself outside because they didn't have bathrooms back in the day. And one of his friends saw her while she was doing that and was attracted to her because men, right?
Right.
So he went back to go tell Muhammad that he saw his wife and that God should tell the women who are Muslim believers to cover their hair or whatever. And I think that at the time they covered their bodies regardless because they're in the desert, it's hot. You're not supposed to expose your skin to the heat unless you want to be cooked,
Right.
So
right.
in general, they were covering their bodies. But it wasn't until that friend of Muhammad said that to him. I don't remember what his name was. I think it's Omar. And shortly after, just perfect timing, right? God revealed a verse that was and tell the believing women to cover their hair and their chest and whatever. The worst part about this is that there were Muslim women who were sex slaves. And the Muslim sex slaves were not allowed to cover their hair because the covering of the hair was a class symbol before it was ever a modesty symbol. So the covering of the hair was these women are not allowed to be assaulted. And these women are not allowed to be approached and not allowed to be harassed, even though they're Muslim and whatever. But the other Muslim women who are sex slaves, do as you will with them because they're sex slaves. So it was never about belief in God and it was never about modesty. It was about male entitlement. It was about male ownership of women. It was this one is owned because her hair is covered so nobody can approach her. This one is not owned and she's a sex slave so I can do whatever I want with her. And the way that they beautified it to be, oh, only your husband gets to see your body because other men don't deserve the right. and da
Right.
da da, all this stuff. These are the narratives that they tell young Muslim girls, right, about wearing the hijab. It causes such a like a pink washing, I want to call it, of the
Mhm.
history of what the woman actually went through in order for this to be the stance that everybody has today. And it further reinforces the fact that your husband owns you because he's the only
Right.
one who's allowed to see your body and allowed to see your hair, and other men just are simply not entitled enough to look at you. When
Right.
in general, men look at every single woman that passes by. They don't care, right?
Right.
Yeah, covered or not.
Covered or not, actually, like, sometimes I can argue that they look at you harder when you are covered because they get a rise out of not being able to figure you out. So they're like, let me imagine what her body looks like. And I always say this in my videos, we need to remove ourselves from the minds of men and to start thinking about ourselves and our bodies from our own perspectives. Because why should we as women have to walk around the world perceiving ourselves through these random men that we don't know and don't care about? And
Right.
they have nasty thoughts all day long about everything. Like, it's not my fault. I don't care.
Right. And did it really even stop?
Exactly. Did it stop the thoughts? And if it didn't stop the thoughts, how is that my fault?
Well, it's like, why is the onus always on the woman, right?
Thank you.
The men are the ones that are looking at us lustfully, but we're the ones that have to suffer and have to cover our bodies and have to be modest and all of this stuff. But maybe they should be the ones who change their brain and not be
Yeah.
curvy weirdos. You know what I mean?
And not, like, sexualize normal things like hair.
Hair, like it's a normal part of your body.
Or taking a piss outside? Like, come on. She just had to pee.
Like, what if she's bald under the hijab? Is she still like
Right.
arousing you because her hair's not there?
I mean, bald heads
Uh,
can be sexy too.
They can.
Right. You're tempting me with your scalp.
But then it goes to show that it's not about the hair,
Right. It's about control.
I imagine it didn't stop sexual assault either.
at all. And this is another one of the things that I'm constantly talking about in my TikTok videos. Muslim people have this aversion to Western society because they think that Western society is like demonic and devilish and sinful and inherently evil and wrong, and those people are our enemies. So it's interesting that they have these perspectives, but then they freely move to the West to practice their religion without any type of law telling them that they have to wear this or they have to stay home or they have to do that, right? So anyways, the point is they have this aversion to Western culture where it's like apparently the women are treated worse over there, but I argue that they're treated more normal because men see women in bikinis and short shorts and tank tops and sometimes even topless at random clubs or whatever, like they're
Right.
exposed to a lot of female bodies. So there's not a weird, disgusting, perverted obsession with every single female body part. Whereas in the Middle East, they'll get aroused by your wrist, by your neck, by your ankles, by your
God.
toes, right?
Oh
And
my
it's like,
God.
where does
Right.
it stop? And it
Right.
doesn't stop because everything is wrong for them. So, and I think that part of it is not inherently their fault because as little boys, they're told, like, don't talk to women, don't approach women, don't have sex, and so they're growing up and they're suppressing all these urges. And so it causes them to view the slightest piece of a woman's body as sexual since they have absolutely no experience with any woman regularly, like even in conversations. The schools are segregated. You're not allowed to be out at night if you're a woman by yourself. Like it's dangerous, and it's also built into the religion and built into the culture that there's not supposed to be like free mixing so that we don't fall into sin. But all that ever does is it makes both genders incredibly weird, and it makes men incredibly perverted because they don't even have face-to-face conversation with a woman. So when they see her in passing and they see a piece of a body part that they're not used to seeing, their
Right.
mind goes off and they start creating all these stories in their head. And it's like, it doesn't need to be that intense. Like, we just
Right.
need to teach boys, view a woman as a woman. Yes, you might be attracted to her. Yes, you might want to marry her. One day you'll have a wife. One day this and that. But for now, that's a person. It's not your property. It's not someone that you objectify. And I just don't think that that's ever going to happen because unfortunately it benefits them to objectify us and to own us and to possess us and to police our body parts and what we show and how much we, talk out loud in public. Like in Afghanistan, women aren't even allowed to speak in public. Can you imagine
Yeah.
going to jail for saying like, excuse me, like,
Right.
Right. And
your voice is that tempting.
It's
Oh
so
my
disgusting
gosh.
that there is that level of control in that society over women. It breaks my heart. And as an American, I feel bad because before the US went into Afghanistan, it wasn't like that,
Mm-mm.
right? Like it
Mhm,
wasn't
mhm.
to that level. But since there was such a backlash, you drive this way and you overcorrect all the way over here. And
Mhm.
so to me, that's what it seems like the government or is it the Taliban that's in
The
control of
Taliban,
yeah.
yeah.
so if they're listening, hi guys. Just kidding.
When I first started making this content, I created a Telegram group with ex-Muslim women who are like around the world to be able to like talk to each other. Like it still exists. I'm not as active in it anymore because it's sad. Like it's very sad, honestly. They just tell their very sad stories all the time. And a lot of them are in the Muslim countries that we think like we're never going to hear from these people. Like there's people in Iran, there's people in Afghanistan, there's people in Iraq, there's people in Kuwait, all parts of the Middle East, and they're like, yeah, my life sucks. And if anyone ever found out that I was sending you these messages, I would go to jail. Like my life would be in
Fuck.
danger. And then the most messed up part about it is that Islam will convince women that they have rights. So you get these people who are actively being oppressed, but they're speaking the fact that they're free to everybody else around them and that they have rights. It's kind of like a cage of your own words, you know? It's like you've built up this wall that you think you're free in, but it's a wall because there's other people
Right.
on the other side who are not in this wall with you, but you've convinced yourself that it's okay to be in the wall, that it's better for you to be in the wall. It's sick. Like, it's so sick. They brainwashed them so deeply to not even be able to question the fact that they're oppressed because they
Yeah.
think it's good. It's sad.
I was just going to say, like, maybe to a lesser extent, but I see that in all of the Abrahamic religions. Like, I mean, Mormonism, all of the ones that, try to make you feel gross for just being in your body. And like you said, it makes them more obsessed with those body parts and it makes them have this unhealthy obsession, which is why I can only speak from what I know. Like, the Mormon church, there's so much sexual abuse, there's so much
Mhm.
pedophilia. And it's like, that's the reason, is because you're
Mhm.
not letting people be normal and grow up with these normal feelings, and then it gets pathologized and they turn into these like really creepy, I don't know.
Mhm.
Creepy
It's
fucking
definitely
weirdos.
Right.
yeah, and
Yeah.
it's definitely a problem in most religions.
Yeah.
Right. And if God does everything perfectly, why would he create this body that gives you these urges and these natural feelings and these
Thank you.
emotions and then says, no, those are wrong? Like, is he
Thank
perfect
you.
or is he flawed? Because you can't say
Right.
that he's making these perfect people and then they're having all these imperfect thoughts.
I think that at the basis of this is a suppression of our sexual energy, and TikTok hates when I talk about this topic. So I don't. Sometimes other women do, and I'll just repost their content. But the suppression of your sexual energy, whether as a boy or as a girl, is essentially the killing off of your creative energy. And when you kill someone's creativity, when you kill someone's drive and someone's sexual energy, then it's easier to convince them that the only purpose of their life is to submit and worship. And so when you disconnect children from the desire to be curious and to obviously there is a line between appropriate and inappropriate, but to completely suppress that sexual energy or to not teach them how to channel it in healthier ways, you allow them to become a willing participant in their own oppression because then they give up on creating things. There's a reason why Muslim people are not artists. It's because
Mm.
they've convinced themselves that it's wrong to dance and to sing and to perform and to have creative sexual energy. Sometimes they'll paint or they'll do sculptures and whatever, but even then they're criticized heavily by other members of the Muslim society because you're spending your time creating something when you should be spending your time worshiping God. And you
Right.
should be spending time giving back to the community and doing extra prayers and all this worship. And when your mind is constantly occupied with that, where is your creative energy supposed to come from, even if you do have it? And then how are you supposed to feel proud of whatever it is you end up creating if there's an underlying layer of guilt of, oh, I should have spent this time praying instead, or I should have spent this time at the mosque, or I should have spent this time reading Quran and memorizing it and whatever, instead of being a human being who has
Right.
creative energy. And that's why religion is so interesting to me, because it's like, at what point does the line between peace and like the complete suppression of all human desires blur? Because
Yeah.
sometimes when they're in that full submission, they convince themselves they've reached a state of peace. And as someone who has been there, I know what that feels like. You're like, okay, nothing matters. I'm worshiping God. At the end, everything's going to be good. I'm going to go to heaven. This is okay. I feel good about the words. I feel good about the prayer. And that becomes a peaceful life for you. But then your desires sooner or later are going to emerge again, and at that point it's like you're fighting yourself, you're fighting your own natural creative energy,
Right.
because it is a system of control. And nobody's ever going to be able to convince me that it's not, because the proof is in the pudding. I made my best music when I deconstructed from religion. It's not a coincidence that a lot of people who leave religion end up creating beautiful things and leading
Right.
beautiful lives, because
Mhm.
they suddenly have their creative juices back without the guilt attached of, oh, I shouldn't be utilizing this energy,
Right.
and
That's
it's
such
just
a good
sad.
point. I never thought of the creativity part. Like, obviously, religion makes you feel shame in your body and guilt about
Mm-hmm.
all of the things you do or sinning. But I never thought about that you feel guilt even for expressing yourself creatively. That's terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I don't know who said, and it's demonic. Was it you,
Oh, yeah,
Christina, who
I
said
did.
it's like the
Mhm.
devil? Yeah, they'll call it demonic, or they'll call it devil worship or whatever if you like paint a face, or if you're like
Right.
exploring dark performance arts or just anything. We're on this planet to create and to explore. There's nothing that's inherently demonic about creating art, but
Right.
because to them anything outside of worshiping God, it can lead you to sin, then you must just stay in the box of worshiping God and don't
And
get out
everything's
of
so
that.
subjective with art that you can create something completely innocent and somebody else will look at it and say that it's sexual or
Yes.
lustful or whatever. And
Right.
then if you want to create something that's sexual, it's completely different to you and somebody could just pass by it and be like, "Oh, that's just whatever." So
Exactly.
that has to be so tough. Yeah, I've never thought of, and as an artist, it's like, oh, I couldn't even imagine
Do you
suppressing that.
paint?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah. And you
And
know that when you're in the flow of the paintbrush, when you like, time doesn't exist, your phone doesn't exist, your hunger doesn't exist. Nothing exists except for that flow of energy from your spirit, your soul, onto the canvas or onto the paper. And I genuinely don't know how someone can look at someone who's doing that and be like, this is worse than not worshiping God.
right.
It's like you're kind of connecting to your higher self and they don't like that.
They
You're
don't
like, you
want
shouldn't
that.
be in control of yourself or pursuing your passions. It should
Yeah.
be all about God.
One thing that has come to mind kind of recently, I mean, I've been out of church for 10 years, but like there's new
Okay.
things that come up all of the time.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
it's been a new realization for me how much brain space that I have free and available for creative things, for just figuring out who I am and what I love and how to create my own world around me that I thrive within. And you don't have that brain space when you're in an organized religion or a high control
Yep.
group or a cult, which a lot of these
Yep.
groups are culty
Are.
because they
Yep.
control what you can eat. They control what you wear, they control your time, they control your thoughts, and so to have that freedom, like, just the space in your brain, it's like when you delete a bunch of stuff off of your computer that you now have
Mhm.
this space for more important things in your
So much
life.
room for activities.
So much room for
So
activities. Yeah.
true. And the interesting part about that brain space is even when you're not using it for creativity, you're also not using it for overthinking. Like sometimes so I do some private coaching and with girls who already decided they don't want to be Muslim anymore. And sometimes I forget how deep the cycle of overthinking was, because you're judging yourself from every angle and then you're weighing your judgments against your own desires. So you're
Right.
both the victim and the judge and the person who has to serve the sentence at the same time in the same body. There's no space in your brain for any creativity. So sometimes they'll say something to me and I'll be like, how did you even reach this conclusion? And then I remember, oh, this is like layer 20 of a surface level
Mhm.
thought that they have just continuously hammered into their subconscious until the thought's not even true. It's not even based on reality. It's literally just fear and projection. and confusion. And it's sad because when they occupy your brain, you don't have time to critically think either.
Yeah.
So they
Right.
tell you something, you say, yes, this must be right. It's coming from a person of authority. You overthink it, you judge yourself against it, you judge other people against it. You don't have any space in your brain to think critically, to question. And that's the game. It's
That's what they
working
want.
very, very well.
Yeah.
Yeah, they gotta keep
Yeah.
you busy. No time to think for yourself.
No time to think. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I was just gonna ask, like, can you tell us a little bit about your upbringing, if you want to, and, like, your story of deconstruction? Like, how did that start for you?
Yeah, for sure. I had an interesting upbringing, and I learned this after telling my story on TikTok that apparently my parents are more on the strict side, even though they both immigrated to Canada. So they're both from Egypt. They chose not to live there, but then they brought the Egyptian and Arabic culture plus Islam over into Canada. So it was hard because in the home, I had to be a different person than I was at school. And at certain points, I would just completely disconnect in school because I didn't know how to exist outside of the identity that I was supposed to be in the house. So my parents very toxic and dysfunctional. Unfortunately, they're not together anymore, but they were when I was a kid. And I would say that my mom was a little more on the chill side, but my dad being the man of the house and an Arab man with a fragile ego constantly enforced whatever his rules were on us. And I very quickly caught on to the fact that he was a hypocrite because there would be things that like he would sit and preach to my sisters and I about, and then the next day he would do the opposite of what he just preached. So I didn't accuse him of anything and I didn't like approach him about anything. I just started taking notes and I was like, okay, like this is a system of control very clearly. But I had the guilt of and the fear of hellfire so deeply embedded in me that I couldn't deconstruct while I was living in the house. And I moved out when I was 19. It took a really long time to convince my parents to let me move out, but because I was one of the older kids in my family and I was also apparently a good one because so basically summer of ninth grade, my grandpa passed away and that was the first death in my family that made me realize like, oh, I'm gonna die too. And because I
Mm.
was still deeply religious, I went completely like overboard with the religion and I actually started memorizing the Quran and I stuck to my 5 daily prayers. I completely pivoted my life, but it was a very conscious decision because I was trying to force myself to believe in it. Like, I knew that I didn't believe in it, but I was like, I'm gonna die, so let me force myself to believe in it. But during those 4 years, until I graduated high school, I was the star child in my family. I got preferential treatment. My parents let me do things that they didn't let my siblings do. They trusted me more. So by the time that I wanted to move out after high school, they were like, okay, she'll stay Muslim. That was their whole fear, basically, is that I wouldn't be Muslim. And it's ironic, right? It took me a while, even after moving out to deconstruct. I think it took like 6 years after moving out to
Oh, wow.
deconstruct because I was still afraid. I was still holding on to the fear of hell. I was still holding on to the fear of like, what if it's true? You know, what if my parents are right? And I also didn't really know why I didn't believe. I just had a feeling that it wasn't real, but I didn't have proof. So a part of me was like, it's the devil. Devil's putting thoughts in my ear. You know, they tell you that all the
Oh,
time.
yeah.
Right.
And really, it was just my intuition being like, girl, wake up, girl. you know? So, yes, it actually wasn't until I learned about the laws of the universe that I realized religion is a bunch of BS. And it's because the laws of the universe worked for me instantly. As soon as I started applying them, they worked for me instantly. And that's how I knew like this is a physics universe. It's not a philosophy universe. It's not a good versus evil. It's just physics. And if we
Yeah.
learn how to use the physics properly, we can get the results that we want. So it made me realize, oh, wow, like at some point they knew this information. Like there are Arab scholars who were mathematicians and scientists and astrologers and they knew this information. And I somewhere along the way, someone came up with a plan that said, hey, this is esoteric hidden knowledge now. We're creating a new plot line and it
And they're
worked.
committed to the
It did.
bit. They're really doing it for the plot.
They're doing it all the way to the end. They're taking it home. Like,
Oh
no,
my
it's
gosh.
sad. It's really sad. And I didn't have enough courage to even make these these videos until I did a course with this girl last year, actually, around this time called Womb Cosmology.
Mm,
And she helps women release the trauma, the DNA of the trauma that is embedded in their womb. Because when you're a baby, what your mother is going through gets embedded into your nervous system. And as a woman, your intuition, your power, your mood stability, your hormones, all of that starts in the womb. So when I did a course with her and we did this meditation, there was an instance where I saw a flashback of what my mom was going through when she was pregnant with me. And it made me so deeply angry that I was like, there's just no way that this religion stuff is meant to benefit women. If it benefits men, I'm happy for them that they need these many rules to be good people. But for women,
mhm.
it's just never working in our favor. It's always being
Right.
used against us. It's always being used to justify abuse, to justify
Mhm.
misogyny, to honor kill your child, and to think that like that's a good thing because she dishonored the family. And it's like, so you care about other people's opinions over the life of your own daughter, and that's supposed to be godly and holy. Okay,
Right.
cool. One day I just woke up and I was like, I'm just gonna start making videos about this. So I did, and here we are.
Yeah. I'm so glad that you did.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Like I said, I grew up Christian and, I've been out of the church for a long time, but I had a really close friend convert to Islam probably
Oh,
about a
wow.
year and a half ago. And I lost that friend through that time. And like, I just cannot understand. I cannot understand how somebody in their like 40s, a whole entire grown adult with a career and like a 20-year-old decides to convert to Islam. When I first met her, she was in a BDSM polycule where she had a
Oh,
boyfriend and a
wow.
girlfriend. So she like went the complete opposite. And so I still can't wrap my mind around how that has happened. So I guess one question that I have, and this is also like a question from one of our listeners, what
Uh-huh.
types of indoctrination and control techniques do you see that Islam uses? And do you feel like it differs from other religions and techniques and tools that they use to get people wrapped up in it?
That is a very great question. And I don't want to make assumptions about your friend, but she probably met a Muslim man before she decided to convert to Islam. And a lot of the times, you don't know. Maybe.
No, sh no. So she said that her reason for converting to Islam was because of what was going on in Gaza and in Palestine, and she was impressed with the people still having faith in this belief system that she wanted to dive deeper and, like, learn more about it, and so she started going to a mosque and, like, really found community there, and she was also struggling with alcoholism, and so she said
Mm.
that since Islam helped her get sober and with the faith thing and the community thing that she felt like it was divine timing for her.
Well, I mean, that's a valid experience for her to find that. And I won't deny that there is community in the religion of Islam. But going back to your question, I do believe that this is one of the methods of deception and of manipulation is the community. Because on the surface level, you find a bunch of people who agree with the same ideas as you and the same dress code and lifestyle and schedule, even when it comes to Ramadan and prayer times and that sort of thing. So there is that sense of closeness, like, okay, I'm not alone in this, other people are in it with me. The issue is when you're a Muslim girl and you're born and raised in this community, everybody knows you. And because the girls represent the honor of the family, the girls are always more harshly judged and criticized than the boys. So the community becomes surveillance. It becomes a
Mm.
monitoring system used against you to snitch or to pit you against someone else or to make you seem like you did something that you didn't do. But you all pray together, so you're supposed to like these people and you're supposed to forgive them. And you're supposed to think of them as your sister and as your brother because you share the same faith. And I'm a very independent person, so I've always been against this form of like collective judgment and
Mm.
collective acceptance. Like I don't care to be accepted by a community at all, and I actually prefer when a community doesn't like me. Just like, okay, like cool. And that's because you don't find very many high quality, self-aware, conscious people in large groups in general. Self-aware, conscious people tend to isolate themselves because they don't operate the same way as everybody else. So unfortunately though, when you're isolated, you're dealing with something like alcoholism, you have childhood trauma, or you have other things that you've been through, you need a community of people to see you and to validate you and to tell you the things that you want to hear, such as your past is completely forgiven. A lot of people can't forgive themselves for their past, but that is
Right.
something that non-Muslim people are told in order to convert to Islam. And I've always
Mm.
thought that that's strange, because how are you telling me that I'm a born Muslim, but I've been judged for every single thing that I've done in my past, but this person who's not a born Muslim gets to convert at whatever age, and nothing that they did in the past matters at all? It's never going to be
Right.
held
That's
against them,
not fair.
you
That's
know?
wild. I didn't know that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then there is an element of, like, when you convert someone, you get heaven automatically. So there's an element of,
Oh.
I gotta make sure that this person converts because my spot in heaven is secured if they do. And the person who's going through the conversion process doesn't know that this is happening. They're just
Right.
happy that someone sees them and validates the things that they've been going through. And those are very human experiences. I completely understand what it's like to not belong somewhere and to finally find a place that you feel like you belong in. And for alcohol to be forbidden means nobody's going to force you to drink with them. Nobody's going to say, hey, come over, or whatever. So there is no temptation in that regard. But the people who are trying to convert you have completely different intentions and mindset than you. And unfortunately, the common way that they're able to get away with this is the gaslighting and the manipulation of, oh, you're chosen, you're special. This
Mm.
is a once in a lifetime experience. Nothing in the
Right.
past matters. And these things, sure, maybe and the religion itself is true, but it is manipulation because you're not telling the person that's converting to Islam about everything that's in the book. Okay,
Right.
and the book has some very questionable things. So, for example, every time I bring up a verse on my TikTok, they tell me that the context is not correct, right? And this is
Mhm.
how I know that they did this on purpose, where they didn't let women be scholars and they didn't let women go to school. Because it doesn't take much for a woman to see the context and be like, this is a bunch of bullshit.
Right.
Like, men have
Yes.
to philosophize about this stuff for 15 years before they reach the same conclusion that I reached with 15 minutes of thinking time.
Right.
This is what I say about men and empathy, and like when men have to go take psychedelics to understand
I
that other people have
understand.
feelings, just to like feel the way we felt as like kindergartners. It's just like we need a matriarchy,
Literally,
We
honestly.
are
literally on the
light
same.
years ahead of you.
Ahead
Light
of
years
them.
ahead.
And that's why they
Right.
can't fathom that we're able. So another way that they gaslight you is by automatically placing a judgment on you that your life without religion is sinful. Even if you lead a better life without religion, they automatically project onto you that you're a hoe, that you're for the streets, that you just want to hook up with random people, that you just want attention, you just want to drink and gamble and do all these sinful things like the Westerners. This is their narrative.
Right.
When in reality, the people who end up leaving Islam are the most educated about the Quran. Like, they're the ones who read it the most, who understood the stories, who put two and two together, and who
Right.
realized, wait, sure, maybe there's some good things about Islam, but the overall weight and pressure of sticking to this religion is just not worth it in my life, because I can lead a better life without this. And this for me is particularly evident when it comes to when I used to pray as a Muslim versus when I meditate now. And I didn't know how to meditate in the past because I thought it was just about quieting your mind, the same way that I thought of prayer was just about performing a ritual. And in Islam, the prayer ritual is very deep. Like, you have to do a water cleanse first, and you cleanse multiple parts of your body. Then the girls have to cover their hair and they go and they pray, and there's certain things you have to say, certain movements you have to do, and it's 5 times a day. So it's a whole
Oh my
thing. Like,
gosh.
yeah,
Right.
literally, like,
That's a
it's
lot.
a whole thing, right? But I never felt connected to God when I was doing that. And there would be instances where I'd be praying with people in the mosque and they would be crying during their prayers. And I remember just thinking to myself, like, why can't I cry? Like, why don't I feel connected enough to cry? And it's because what they're seeking is external, and what I was seeking was internal. And so I found it in meditation by going inwards into my body and by listening to my body's intention. It's not about quieting my mind, it's about listening to my body. So now when I do meditations, the number one thing I focus on is breath, because if I can slow my breath, I can come into my body. And then I actually speak to my body and I tell it like to show me what the issue is. And it pings me every time. Like a part of me will start tingling or vibrating or moving or shaking. And I understand whatever I'm going through at that moment in that particular time. And sometimes it brings me to tears. And then I realize, oh, it was an emotional release this whole time. The people who were praying in the mosque needed an emotional release. And
Yeah,
I
right.
also needed an emotional release, but my emotional release didn't come from prayer. So it's so weird to think about how much of human psychology and just human nature in general is codified into like sin and good deeds under the guise of religion when it's just emotion and desire. Like if we can become intelligent enough to understand our emotions and our desires, we don't need a religion because we would have the tools to sit, to feel, to process, and then to come to our own logic. Like, I don't like when people make it seem like you need a religion to think when religion is the thing that turns your brain off.
Right,
You know
right,
what I
yeah,
mean?
completely the opposite. It's like, think these
Mhm.
things, do these things, don't think for yourself. And out of everyone we talk to, it seems like no matter the religion, it's always the same experience, whether it's the Book of Mormon or the Bible or the Quran. It's like the more people learn and educate, the better the people are usually, the more they leave religion. And it's like, you don't need that for
You
your
don't need
morals.
it.
I've never understood that.
Because we already know what our morals are. We already
Right.
feel it. It's just that we're so disconnected. And the reason why we're so disconnected is because we've been forced to judge each other on external things instead of on internal things. We've been forced to judge each other on class, on gender, on race, on location, like wherever you're born and whatever, when really we should be judging emotional states. We should be judging capacity to think critically. We should be
Right.
judging like
Right.
whether or not this person feels loved as a person. And it starts in childhood, and I say this all the time. They indoctrinate you in childhood because they're too lazy to teach children how to feel and think. They don't want children that feel and think. It has always been
Yeah.
about controlling the child, which is why I'm very anti having children also. And it's interesting, Islam specifically promotes having children as something that God loves, but it's like you're just having children because you think that that's what God wants you to do, but you don't realize that this child is a real person. And at
Mhm.
some point, they're going to have an emotion that you don't feel like you want to deal with. But what are you going to do in that moment? Shut the child down or allow them to understand that this is a feeling and move through it? And it's crazy how that one little differentiator between having the space to feel your feelings as a child and being told that you're disobeying your parents and you're going to hell completely changes the outcome of who you are as an adult. And
Right.
I say this all the time. We shouldn't be telling children about hell. We shouldn't be telling children about
No,
heaven. We shouldn't be
agreed.
telling
No.
children about judgment day. Just
No.
let them feel their feelings
Right.
and form like an
Absolutely.
identity first. Let them be conscious and
Before
then
we fill them
decide.
full of anxiety. Yeah.
Right. They even develop
Yeah.
when they're afraid of their natural body and natural instincts and that they're gonna be tortured forever. Like, I can't even imagine what that does to someone, and, like, it's just so sad.
Yeah, and who knows what forever is like as a child too. Like that's
Right.
Right.
overwhelming. Like I'm gonna burn in hell forever. Like
Right.
I'm 6 years old.
Right. I saw your video about that where you say that, they tell people that children are a gift from God, but then they're treated like a burden when they're there. And they have so many that it's like you can't give your attention and your love and all that stuff to so many children. And if God really felt that these were gifts, why are you automatically full of sin the minute you're born? It's like, what? It's just a race you can never win.
Yeah, it's an
They keep
unattainable
moving the
goal.
goalpost.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In Islam, is it that you are born with original sin.
No, so that's actually slightly different. Yeah, we don't believe that we're born inherently sinful, but we do believe, and this is a little, it goes into that a little bit because the bottom line is poverty. Poverty is glorified, and when you can glorify poverty, then you can also tell someone that they're born inherently sinful, and that's why they're in poverty, and so they have to pray their way out of poverty. And in an Islamic perspective, when you're born into poverty, it's a test from God, so you got to prove your faith through accepting the fact that you're in poverty. And then you also got to have blind faith that somehow, somewhere, someplace, God's going to provide for you and all these poor children just because you had blind faith in Him. But we see over and over again that that's not the case. And that's what I find particularly interesting, Aliyah, about your friend who converted to Islam because of what was going on in Gaza, because I have a completely different perspective on it. My perspective is, why should someone have to be tested with this much war and poverty to prove their faith and loyalty to a God, and then the God doesn't respond?
This is like my biggest thing that kind of broke my shelf and like caused part of my faith crisis is, how is it that I'm supposed to recognize God as my heavenly father, but he's such a piece of shit where like he knows exactly what I need. I'm asking for the things that I want and need. He's in control of the whole entire universe. So that means he could give me the things that I need, or he could stop world hunger, or he could stop genocide, or he could stop child abuse, or he could stop all of the bad, all of the suffering. He's all powerful, right? He's all powerful and all good. So why doesn't he stop the suffering? And so why would I worship somebody like that? Like, I don't even want to be friends with that person, let alone worship.
Exactly.
No.
Exactly.
I wouldn't let him around my kids.
I sure as hell wouldn't let him around my child.
Yeah, and it's sad. And this is the thing is like they feel as long as they're praying for those people that something is being done, but they don't realize that it's not even about those people in Gaza specifically. The story is so much bigger than Gaza. Gaza is just the outcome of the story that's already been going on behind the scenes. So it's not like God's testing these people specifically. It's that war is something that men justify with religion. This is another thing is like, how can you call a religion peaceful if war was part of the formation of the religion?
Right.
Who's it peaceful for? Because it wasn't peaceful for the people whose villages got raided and they got forced to convert to Islam. And what's crazy is the men did that to African tribes without killing the women or children. So they'd go in, they'd kill all the men, then they'd take the women and children as hostage and be like, convert to Islam. That's how they were able to literally erase bloodlines instantly. Like, just convert them on the spot, take them as ownership, and say, this is your new God now. And if you don't like it, you're done. So some of them ended up running away. Some of them ended up converting, but we skip over this part so much when we talk about the history of Islam because we think that people just, they were missionaries. They went to poor communities and they preached so gently and calmly, and everyone was convinced and they all willingly accepted to abandon their religion and their culture and to accept Islam as the true religion. That's not what happened. That's not even what's happening today. So how can we think that that's what happened thousands of years ago? No, they violently invaded and murdered millions of people in order to spread Islam. So if you're living it peacefully today, that's great. I'm happy for you. But the history is not something that you can just pretend never happened, because the history is the reason why you're living it today. You know, if that history never happened, if those communities never got wiped out, you probably wouldn't have been born Muslim. There's a thought.
Yeah, it sounds very similar to Christianity and
I was going to
how
say same
the United
script,
States
different
was
font.
colonized.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly, same script, different font. And another thing is like, why would God wait all this time of like humanity to suddenly reveal Christianity and Islam? What was he doing all those thousands of other years ago if that's the true religion? It just seems like God's sitting around waiting for things to get worse. And I made a TikTok about this too. I feel like God's just like, it's not bad enough yet.
Yeah, or he likes it.
Yeah, the God's enjoying the show if he's up there and if he's real, because it's how much worse can it get, you guys? Like, do you really think that hell exists? Because if it does, it's on this plane. Yeah.
I was going to ask you actually, what is hell in Islam? Is it like similar to the Christian hell, or is there something different? Devil and flames and all that stuff? Or
Yeah. So there's 7 levels of heaven and 7 levels of hell. And if you know anything about spirituality, you know that the number 7 is like a spiritual number. So it's like they literally just snatched things out of esoteric knowledge and were like 7, 99, 12.
I like this piece. I like this
Literally,
piece.
literally.
Yeah, they all just share.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they convince you that the other one is wrong, but you're right.
Mhm.
But it's like they're 2 sides of the same bread, like, you know? So anyways, in Islam, yeah, there's 7 levels of hell, and there's, like, dedicated people who are going to each level of hell and dedicated ways that, like, they end up there. Like, the descriptions for some of these sinners are very intense, and then also, most of people don't believe that when you're in the grave, you're dead. They believe that there's punishments in the grave also. So, like,
Oh.
die and then you stay punished in your grave until whenever Judgment Day is. So it's like, what if there's 100,000 years between when I die and when Judgment Day is, but my life was only 12 years or like, I don't know, whatever, 32 years. So the 32 years of sinning that I did is worth 100,000 years of waiting to get punished in the grave. The math is not mathing.
no.
So I would call myself pretty ignorant. Like, I don't know very much about Islam at all. I feel like Christina right now because anytime we have somebody on the podcast, Christina's like, wait, that's real? Wait, that's what you believed? Because she grew up completely without
Welcome
religion.
to
And
my world.
so I feel like I'm Christina right now. So I'm just like, wait,
No.
what? Tell me more. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, what do you
And you
mean?
have
Like,
to,
what are
like,
the
pray for
layers?
protection. You have to pray for protection in the grave. So, like, the opposite's always true. So, if you're going to heaven, then your grave is rainbows and butterflies until Judgment Day and whatever. There's so many stories of people who, like, went to graveyards and they, like, heard things and saw things and whatever. And it's like, yeah, that's been true across all of humanity for as long as we've been alive because we know that in the cemetery, in the graveyard, is where the veil is thin between, you know, living and dead. So you might have heard something in the graveyard that was a bird, but because your
A
mindset is
raccoon.
a raccoon, but because your mindset is hyperfixated on, oh, the people who are here are getting punished pre-Judgment Day, you go back and you tell everybody else that you heard so-and-so being punished in the grave and they were screaming, crying, and so it must be true. We all need to pray and repent. And it's honestly a mental illness because it's like, how much of my life is supposed to be occupied thinking about death and the afterworld? Like, where's the
Right.
time to live my life if I'm constantly thinking about death and the afterlife? Here's the thing I don't understand. If God wants credit for all of our good deeds, why doesn't he want credit for our sins too since he created Satan?
Mhm.
Like, why does he get to hand off the responsibility of you created a bunch of people who are sinners to Satan when he's the creator of Satan? But we're not allowed to take credit for our own goods because it came from God and we need to praise God and thank God and worship God. Like, the disconnect. And when you ask these questions, they short circuit. They
Mhm.
actually get so angry, and I understand it because it's too difficult to process the fact that you believe in a bunch of fairy tales. Like,
Yeah.
Mhm.
that's what it is. Sorry. It's a bad game of telephone. It's someone's been whispering in someone else's ear, and the circle has resulted in this mess that we're in today.
I know that obviously Islam is an Abrahamic religion. So, how much of what we have as like the Christian Bible overlaps with Islam? As far as I know, like Islam considers Jesus a prophet, and
Mhm.
Islam obviously believes that Abraham was real and that his son Ishmael, right, is like
Yeah.
part of it. So, like, how much, like, where's the overlap and where does it kind of branch off?
I think it's all overlapped, but the main difference in belief is that we don't believe in the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. We believe just like, I don't know why I'm saying we, they.
They,
Not me.
not me.
You know, like it's so weird because you'll deconstruct, but you still like think of the person that you were when you were in that belief. And it's like, this is what I used to say when people would ask me this, like,
Mhm.
God is one spirit, one consciousness. And then we do believe that Mary was a virgin. We believe that Mary was the mother of Jesus, but we don't believe that Jesus came down as, or they don't believe, sorry, that Jesus came down as God. They believe that God sent Jesus down to spread the same message as Muhammad. But everything else in terms of the stories and the plot lines and the characters, like It's all the same, which is weird because all they did is they changed the names from Arabic names to English names. You know, or
Right.
Latin names or whatever. And I saw this little bit, like this comedy bit a couple days ago, and it was like some guy was like his name was Matthew. And he was in a desert and he was like, "What's up? I'm Matt."
I saw that too, and I've always thought that, like, "Hey, I'm John." I'm like, "You don't
Right.
belong there."
Like in the middle of Arabia. Like
These white people
yeah.
with blue eyes. Sure.
Hey, I'm Matt. I'm here to tell you about the word of God. It's a skill that's so funny. And that's why I always find it interesting when Christians and Muslims are always going at each other because I'm like, you guys believe the same things though.
Right. You're more similar than you think.
And they don't like
So,
when you
like,
point this out.
Noah's Ark, like, that was a thing for you too?
Yeah. Noah's Ark.
Dang.
Yeah. The story of
All the
Solomon.
classics.
Solomon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who's
All the
the other
greatest
guy?
hits.
Abraham was like about to slit his son's throat or whatever. Yeah, all
Love
those
that
That's my
one.
stories are
favorite one.
hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Oh, JK! Didn't want you to actually kill him.
So speaking of that story, like, what do you think the conversation was like on the way back down from the mountain between Isaac and Abraham? Do you think it was like, hey, like, sorry about that. Can I buy you dinner? Or like,
Don't tell anyone this happened, okay? Just
right,
pretend that it
between me
was
and you.
okay. Between me and you, this was just a joke. I'm so sorry for traumatizing you forever.
LOL, JK.
April Fools.
JK. April Fool!
Maybe that's where it started.
If
That would
I
be
was
so
Isaac, I would
funny.
not want to go hiking with my dad ever again.
Ever
Mhm.
again, ever again. And
Right.
then, okay, and here's I don't know how much time we have, but I do want to talk about the
As much as you
correlation of,
want.
okay,
We
awesome.
love
Because
you.
in
We're
this,
obsessed. Stay
yay,
forever. Yeah.
thank you. I love you guys too. I don't know if this exists in Christianity, but in Islam, like the relationship between God and you very heavily resembles the relationship between your parents and you. And that's why I think that a lot of the times, like Muslim people have children because they want to be worshipped, not because they think that
Mm.
children are something that they should be doing for
Mm.
God. Because if you could convince yourself as a parent that you have authority and, guidance over this child, this soul, then you can convince the child that they're worshiping God by worshiping you. And so you essentially become their God.
Interesting.
There's so many verses and emphasis about obedience to parents and about staying within the family and about, your parents' approval. Like there is a story of this guy during the time of the prophet. He was about to die. So they went to go call his mom and he asked his mom, like, are you happy with your son? And she said yes. And right after she said yes, he passed away. And it was like, oh, he wasn't able to die until he got his mother's approval that she's like not holding any grudges against him.
Okay, mama's boy. Jeez.
Oh, that's so interesting because Aaliyah and I were talking recently. I have 2 kids and she has 1, and we kind of don't relate to a lot of other moms who like want to have tons and tons of babies. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but we just don't relate to it. And it's interesting to see it from that perspective because I come from a Mormon family and you probably know they have shitloads of kids. So I'm like, okay, that makes more sense if they're, these people that are supposed to worship you and also do housework because they view their kids that way. That makes a lot more sense why they would have so many because they don't have to tune in to all of the needs. Whereas us, we're like, more
I want
than
to
one.
pour everything into my child.
I'm at my max capacity with 2. So
Yeah.
that's something I hadn't thought of. That
And
makes
then
a
the
lot
kids
more
are ridiculed for like not worshiping their parents. It's almost like the kid is supposed to be pouring into the parent instead of the other way around.
Which is
And
like mind-boggling to me. Like,
how is a child supposed to fulfill you? They just got here. They don't know what's going
right.
on.
like my child doesn't even know how to blow her own nose. Like,
To be clear, she's a baby. She's a baby.
she's
It's
18 months in a
true.
week from
Aw,
now.
so
But like,
cute.
oh my God, she's so cute. Like, sorry, she's the best
Yeah.
thing ever. But I didn't have a child because I wanted to be worshipped. I had a child because my husband and I love each other so much that I wanted a physical like manifestation of our love. And I felt like
Aw,
if
it's
there's
so
anyone that
cute.
should raise a human being, it's us. And
Mhm.
so like that's why I had a child, not for
Mhm.
somebody to worship me. Like, I want to pour love into her. I hope that she loves me back, but like, I don't want worship for my child. And like, to have that as your reason for procreation
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's not necessarily the reason. I'll tell you what the reason is. That most of people have a narrative that the proof that Islam is a true religion is in the numbers. So they'll constantly say things like Islam is the fastest growing religion. But when you do the research, you understand that the reason why it's the fastest growing religion is because Muslim people have the most babies, and they have the most babies at the youngest ages. So
Right.
rather than them thinking, I should have a kid because I want to be worshipped, they think I should have a kid because I'm helping the religion of Islam grow. You know what I
Right.
mean? So it
Right.
becomes
It's like
about
an
the
MLM.
numbers.
Well, I was going to say, like, it sounds like Islam and Mormonism have way more in common. Like,
Yeah,
Mormonism is
Yeah.
just mayonnaise Islam.
I think so too,
Right.
girl.
And you have to wear garments also.
Yeah, there's a control over what you can consume in terms of like food or beverage. Because, like, in Mormonism, you can't have coffee or like caffeinated drinks or like,
What?
yeah, you
Mm-mm.
can't have
No hot
Not
coffee.
just no
drinks.
alcohol, but like none
No,
of that.
yeah, no
Yeah.
cigarettes, no coffee.
Why coffee though?
Because Joseph Smith said so, and he is the prophet. So,
Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, I
That's so crazy.
specifically
You know,
remember
that's so
drinking a cup of tea when I was like 19 and my grandma looked at me and she was just like,
avoid
"For a
the
cup of tea."
appearance of evil
I'm like,
because it
"Right."
looks
I'm
like
like, "If you
coffee.
only knew the
Oh
other
my
shit I was
god.
doing."
Can I tell you guys something about that though?
Tell me
Because that
everything.
just
Yes.
sparked something that I just put two and two together. So in ancient esoteric communities, cacao is a sacred plant, and when you make cacao, you can communicate with your ancestors and with the unseen. So I wonder if the
Oh.
banning of coffee had to do with the demonization of the cacao plant in general, because maybe they knew it was connected to spirituality. Because
Possible, but, like,
Interesting.
it's also just there's, like, a lot of just weird stuff, but,
Random.
yeah, there's also, like, the control of what you can wear because Mormons, the
yeah.
ones that are, like, in the highest level because there's also levels to heaven in Mormonism just like there is in Islam.
Wow,
You
interesting.
If you're at the highest level, then you also wear the sacred garments underneath all of your clothes to have this remembrance of God on you all of the time and also to keep you modest. Like I said, it's just
Interesting.
same script, different font,
Except they get
Yeah.
to show their shoulders now this
Which
year.
is brand new. That
Oh,
just
brand
came out.
really?
new. Yeah.
2025, God was like, "You know what? Shoulders are fine."
Who did God send this memo to, though? I'm
Oh, the
curious.
president, the CEO of the corporation of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
So crazy. I think we would all be like, I don't know about Mormonism and how much people believe it's true, but I think we would all be better off if we would just accept that religion has some true components, but it's not perfect in general. And the reason why people can't accept that it's not perfect in general is because they need something that's going to allow them to just not think too deeply about what to do. And I think that that's
Right.
really sad. Like, when we come to this conclusion where we realize that a majority of people just don't want to think, they literally want to be told what to do. We
Mhm.
understand why they say things like Islam is a perfect religion or whatever. Because as soon as you say, well, if it was a perfect religion 5,000 years ago or however many years ago it was, why isn't it a perfect religion today? They'll tell you, oh, it's because Muslim people don't practice it right. But the
Mhm.
analogy I give is, okay, if you take like a perfect fish tank and you drop a bunch of healthy fish in there, you're operating under the assumption that the fish are going to stay healthy. But if one of the fish gets sick and you keep it in the tank and it makes the other fish sick, you can't argue that the condition of the tank is perfect, because it's not anymore, because the sick fish has infiltrated the rest of the tank. So a container can't be perfect and also contain a bunch of imperfect parts. It's just
Mhm.
not perfect at that point, and we can just say that it's not perfect. Because if it is perfect, you're holding people to this level of, oh, don't question anything. It's already been done. It's already been figured out. You're just the wrong one. The blame always comes back down to you and how your lack of faith is affecting your life. And no, there is nuance to everything. Sometimes we just have a question and it's like, well, if I can't question it because it's already perfect, then I have to abandon my own cognitive, ability. and I go into a state of cognitive dissonance because I just reject the fact that I have questions. Then the people who question become your enemies. Because it's like, why are you raising questions about things that's already perfect? It's already done. No. Every single book like ever written has at least one little typo in it. Like nothing is perfect. Even
Right.
a song that you think is perfect is not perfect to the artist who made it. So it's like, and if God is perfect and God created all these perfect things, then why is there so many variations? Like, wouldn't we all just be perfect if we
Yes.
exist
Right.
perfectly
Yes.
in God's perfect image and likeness? Wouldn't we be perfect? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. We hear it a lot from Christians like, oh, well, you were just a part of the wrong church, or it was just that family, or it's the people. God is perfect and they're the ones doing it wrong. And so I'm just curious. I'm sure it happens in Islam. It's the same for probably every religion, but I just want to hear your
absolutely.
take on how they blame it on the people, yet what the people are basing their lives around is the doctrine that's in the book. So,
Another form of cognitive dissonance. It's exactly what happens. And unfortunately, Islam has a lot of verses about forgiveness too and about making excuses for people. And I understand that, like, on one hand, that can be used as an avenue to protect people from false accusations and to protect people's reputation. But on the other hand, it's used to, number one, victim blame anyone who gets sexually assaulted because you're
Mhm.
supposed to forgive and everything happens for a reason. And God destined this, so it's part of your path and da da da. And number two, it lets people off the hook because as long as they feel like you're going to forgive them, then they don't have to actually take accountability for their actions. And then it goes into the whole, oh, well, that's just your family. That's just that person. That's just
Mhm.
this specific context. But when I make videos, I get people from all corners of the world telling me that they had the same experience. So is it really a one off thing? Or is
Right.
it the common thing that we're continuously pretending is not the common thing? And yeah, it happens in Islam as well. And it happens because it's uncomfortable for people to take accountability and to realize that they're following a doctrine that's flawed and that they don't actually know how to use their brain for themselves. And that it's uncomfortable for them to hold perpetrators and people who hurt other people accountable. It's
Mhm.
easier to make the victims forgive their perpetrators and their abusers because then there's no surface level conflict. The conflict moves into internal quiet conflict, which is better
Right.
for a community to manage than, pointing fingers and being like, well, that's a predator. Well, my husband beats me.
Right.
Well, this guy did this to this girl. And they don't do it to just girls. The sick part is they do it to little boys too. Because when they force the girls to stay inside, the boys are the only ones who go outside. So if a group of men in Tunisia or Morocco or wherever are horny and they see a little
Right.
boy,
Fuck.
then the little
Right.
boy gets
Yeah.
victimized. And then it's like the cycle repeats and continues. And the thing about
Right.
little boys is the abuse that they face is not ever taken seriously. And so they continue to do it to other people.
Right.
Whereas when girls get abused, they shut down and they keep it internal for the most part because they think it's their fault. So you have two dysfunctional children that are going through the exact same thing and that are causing a further sick society because we keep saying that we're supposed to forgive. And there's nothing wrong with forgiveness, but forgiveness without accountability is just you being let off the hook. That's
Right.
just
Yeah.
what it is. You're just letting a bunch of criminals loose.
Right. Yeah.
Why? Because they think that God's going to take care of it on Judgment Day. They really, truly believe that on Judgment Day, God's going to hold all these people accountable. Like, God has a really long list of people to get through then.
Right. It's like, why not just do it
Like,
now? Like, why wait? Like,
yeah,
Right.
cut out the
so
middleman and just stop the abuse.
yeah, how about
Yeah.
that? Iman, you touched on something that we think about and talk about a lot. We had a content creator named Britt Hartley, and she has like a PhD in like theology and philosophy. And she mentions that
oh,
religion gives our brain a lot of shortcuts. And there's a reason why humanity has co evolved alongside religion because it provides the community, it provides shared myth, and that shared myth provides trust within that in group. And
mm-hmm,
so having that built in safety net essentially provides like a layer of security that people don't have outside of religion. And so I know
mm-hmm,
just some things that you were saying really brought that point up of like
mm-hmm,
we as humans have created this thing and it does have benefits to it, but it's also like the most harmful thing that one of the most harmful things that we have created as humans,
Yeah.
also on the same,
Yeah.
I think you said on the same side of the bread or
Yeah.
opposite side of the
Yeah.
toast or
Same side of the
something. Yeah.
bread,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Right, like, it's all built in. You don't have to consider what your morals are. You don't have to build your own community piece by piece. It's this very easy, like, "Okay, this is what we all believe, and we have this built-in community." So I understand why it's so important to people, but you're just bypassing all of the really important stuff to let someone else decide for you.
I don't think that we even need to necessarily be spending all our time thinking either, because I do agree that like sometimes you don't need to think about things, you need to feel. And I think
Mm.
that when we pretend that we're not allowed to feel, or that when we pretend that we don't have feelings, and I was this type of person up until recently where I was like, I don't have to deal with it, I don't have to acknowledge it, I'm fine, it doesn't matter. But your human nature is to feel. So you wouldn't have a nervous system if you didn't need to feel emotions. And so I think that like when we say, oh, well, we don't have to think about it too much, no, but we do have to learn how to feel things, and we have to learn
Yeah.
how to feel things together, because when we're all feeling things independently, we think our feelings are the only feelings. Just like when we're thinking things collectively, we think our thoughts are the only thoughts. But there
Right.
is no practice within religion for everybody to feel together outside of the physical act of prayer. So I know in church, like they sing and they do the hymns and whatever, and in mosques we pray and we read the Quran, and that's a shared activity of vocals or of movements or of a certain exercise, but it's not the shared experience of feelings. And so that's
Right.
why the woman beside me who was crying could cry and I couldn't cry, because I wasn't tapped into her emotional field at all. And it really comes down to empathy. That's what it is. It's basic empathy. If we can connect with each other's feelings, then we don't have to judge each other so harshly by what we're thinking and what we're doing, because we develop a sense of, oh, it's a temporary emotion, it'll pass, feel it, move on with your life. God's not
Right.
going to punish you for that, and it's simple. It's so simple. And that's what they need, because you can tell that they've suppressed so much of who they are as people in order to be accepted by this group and to convince themselves that the thoughts that they're having are true, but their feelings are telling them otherwise. And that's why they lash out when they see someone like myself or you guys on the internet talking about something else, because they say, no, she doesn't have the same thoughts as me. How dare she? But they don't realize
Right.
it's not about the thoughts, it's about the feelings. You
Mhm.
have certain thoughts that were placed there because you were told that you're not allowed to have certain feelings as a
Yeah.
child. It's basically damn near impossible to indoctrinate an adult to believe in religion. Like, they have to be willing to go do their own research and to convert, because adults can understand and know when you're trying to force your ideas onto them. But we do
Right.
it to children so easily and without thinking about it, because it makes them easier to control. And then those children
Definitely.
don't realize that that's what they were going through. They grow up and they think feelings are not for me, men and women, they think I don't need to feel, I'll just pray about it.
Yeah.
And they pray
Mhm.
about it, they don't get what they want, they don't get a response, so they become helpless, but they cover up their feeling of helplessness with guilt and shame. Oh, I'm not being faithful enough. So the guilt and shame becomes the fuel of that person's wrong, that person's my enemy, you're not doing this correctly. And yeah, the control that they want to have over themselves, they project onto other people around them. And especially parents do this. But, siblings do it to each other, friends do it to each other. And yeah,
Sounds exhausting.
it's exhausting.
Like,
Christina, I wanted to ask you actually, like, did your parents ever like fearmonger you about anything? What was it like to grow up just not having that at all?
no, no, they didn't. I didn't even know that Christmas had anything to do with religion until I was probably like 10.
Oh
Like, I didn't
wow.
know that it was like a whole Jesus thing. Like, we just didn't talk about that
Oh
stuff.
wow.
Nobody talked to me about hell or heaven or any type of punishment after we died. Nothing.
So you had the freedom and capacity to just like be a child.
Yes.
That's
Yep.
literally, I think, so important.
I did.
Yeah.
And, and I had trauma and I have, similar experiences. I had a stepdad that wasn't very nice and they felt that they kind of messed up with me. So they actually put my sister in Catholic school. She went to Catholic school from kindergarten until high school. But every time I did something or rebelled I think there was regret that they didn't maybe,
Right, because that was the
raise
problem.
me with raise me with religion. But my
Yeah.
sister ended up being, tattooed bisexual just like me. It didn't matter that she went to a Catholic school. So, but yeah, even then with her going to Catholic school, I never let it. I just one ear
Wow.
out the other. If I had to go to church with them for any reason, it was like, nope. It just would not stick in my
Yeah.
brain.
Yeah.
It's always so funny to me when they're like, "I don't want my kid to be gay, so I'm gonna send them to an all-girls Catholic school where they're all in mini skirts and they get to live together." I'm like, "Oh, no."
Yeah,
Like,
Yes,
'cause that's
please
how the
send me there.
Right?
it's the most interesting thing. The whole, like, suppression of homosexuality under religion is a completely different topic that I could talk about for hours and hours. But I do think that it's particularly interesting that they have this belief that homosexuality is a sin, especially in Islam, but they also believe that men and women should be segregated, like separated. So
right,
it raises the question, well, anyone who knows anything about sociology or human interaction, like human psychology, will tell you that, first of all, who your child is around doesn't affect their sexuality at all. But if it did, hypothetically, then would it not make more sense for men and women to mingle? For there to be reduced homosexuality? Because
Right.
then the men who are attracted to men would have a harder time reaching the men, and the women who are attracted to women would have a harder time reaching the women. But they don't see it that way because they don't even think that
right.
homosexuality is real. And homosexuality can't be influenced. I know this, I believe this, but I'm just going along with like their mindset and their way of thinking because it's like hypothetically, if you could change someone's sexuality, the most likely way would be to not constantly have them around people of the same gender, you know?
Right.
And it's just so weird to me because a lot of Arab men, a lot of Muslim men are undercover homosexuals because they're not allowed to be, so they have to keep it low key. And I feel for the women who end up marrying these guys because to their family it's like, "Oh, look, he has a wife, like he's not gay and whatever, but he'll never be at home. He'll never give her affection. He'll never have sex with her." Like if they have a kid, it's like one kid in 5 years and it's like God knows
Right.
how they did that. And
Yeah,
now you're
turkey
forcing
baster.
2 people you're literally
To
forcing
fuck.
2 people, though, to fuck and to, like, pretend to be attracted to each other for your own ego, for your
Right.
own validation, to be like, "Oh, look, my son married a woman. He's not gay. There's nothing wrong with him." What?
Yeah. That
Like
yeah, and that's just like the smallest level of what that is. We have
Yeah.
a guest and he talked about that and I never looked at it from a male perspective. Like he was gay, he got married to a woman because that's what you did in the church.
Mhm.
And, they were told like that's what you do. You have to have sex. And we think about the women like, oh, they have to have, sex against their will technically because they're not, but I've never really looked at it from a male perspective. Like he had to have sex with her and he didn't want to. And that sucks for him. And
It's
that's,
traumatizing.
it is very
Yeah.
traumatizing.
Yeah.
So,
And then you have to have a child with that person, and then you have to love the child, but you know how the child was conceived. I really
right.
believe in not conceiving children out of hate. Like when people say makeup sex and whatever, drunk sex, whatever, I'm like, no, that's all hateful sex. And if you have children from hateful sex, your children are going to be embedded with the frequency of hatred. Like they're going to know that you hate them. And I think it's so sad that we force people to have kids just so that there's nothing wrong with them on the outside looking in, but we don't think about the child who's going to be conceived out of this hateful sex and how that child,
Right.
like that child is a constant reminder to both parents, you didn't want to do this,
Yeah.
and it's
Right.
like,
Yeah. Lots of
that's
people should not be
horrible
having kids.
at
Yeah.
all. And why? Why do we want like young, innocent children around people who are just like disgusted by them?
Well, it's the same thing where, like, I'm a strong proponent for abortion. I think if you want an abortion, you should be able to get one anywhere, anytime, any place, down at the
At
7-Eleven,
7-Eleven.
two for one deal on abortion down at the 7-Eleven. Like, I think you should get them anywhere, anytime. And so that's where I really struggle
Hilarious.
with, like, women who have been raped and then are forced to have this child that is a constant reminder of their experience and of their trauma. And like, how can a religion that is so much like, it's about love, it's about compassion, whatever, to me, that's so the opposite of compassion
Mm,
for this
mhm.
woman. and like her experience, and it's a lack of compassion for this child that's going to be raised. It's just
Yeah. In
that's another
Islam,
whole
if
tangent that I could go on for hours and hours and hours and
me
hours and
too, but
forever.
honestly,
Yeah.
it's sad because it's true. I don't know about Christianity, but in Islam, you're supposed to be a virgin before marriage. So if a woman gets raped, they force her to marry her rapist.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
Because it's better for her to be married and then to like get divorced later, whatever, than for people to know that she had sex before marriage, even though she didn't want to.
Right.
I hate it
Right.
here. I hate it here. I hate it here. I
Yeah.
hate it here. I hate it here.
I can't even imagine.
It's so freaking sad, and it's like these
God.
creepy
It's
ass old ass
disgusting.
dudes who are like,
Why do men just ruin everything?
we need to
They
just
really
yeah.
do.
Problem in every single religion, and it all
Yeah.
boils down to
Yeah.
the root cause is these fucking men.
Men. You're right.
Mhm.
You're right. Yeah.
Hmm.
We need a matriarchy today.
Yeah, really do.
For real.
I heard a really interesting point, and I had not considered this, but I think humans are like one of 3 species on Earth where the women go through menopause. And somebody was bringing up, and this point was like, why is it if one of the most important things that we do as a species is to procreate, why would it be that as a species, the woman who is the carrier and giver of life ability to have a child ceases at some point in time? It must be because she has a higher calling than creating children at that point
Right.
in her life. And it just so happens to be when you're at a point in your life where you've got all of this wisdom, you know, in you. So like maybe women should be running the world at that
Right.
phase of their life because they have all of this wisdom and they have the free space to do it because they're not bearing children anymore.
And they
Right?
get 0 fucks.
And to add to that point, all of the other animals that go into menopause, they are all matriarchal. Like that's
I heard
the
this
biggest
too.
connection.
So
Yeah.
amazing. It makes so much sense. The male ego is such an interesting thing, you guys. Like, truly, I don't know if they're born with the audacity or if they, or if it's gradually being enabled in them. But I can't imagine walking around constantly being offended by so many things to the point where, like, I create destructive systems because I'm
Right.
offended. You
And
know what I
start
mean?
wars. Yeah.
Right.
Just start
We've
blowing shit up because you're mad.
we've all been offended at some point before as women. Even as young as like
Right.
I want to say 6 years old is probably where you experience the first time that like a girl doesn't want to play with you or doesn't want to be your friend, and you're like, how
Right.
dare you?
But like
But-
I've never started a war over that. I've never killed anyone over that.
That's what I'm saying. Or like when they're like, these school shooters, they were bullied. I'm like, I was bullied relentlessly and I didn't pick up a fucking gun.
Mm-mm.
You know what I did? I went to therapy.
That's a part of the script that they flipped on us, because when you actually interact with men, you realize how much more emotional they are. And it's not a bad thing to be more emotional. It's the fact that they're constantly in denial that they're more emotional that makes them dangerous, because we know that we're emotional sometimes. We're not in denial of the fact that we're
Right.
emotional sometimes, which is why we have our full range of emotions. But when you deny that you're emotional, then you don't feel anything. You don't feel happiness, you don't feel joy, you don't feel disappointment, you don't feel regret, you don't feel guilt, you just
Right.
feel anger. And that anger is what they've deemed as socially acceptable for men to feel, which is why they feel so justified when they start wars and they do all these horrible things, because they're mad, because their little big boy feelings are hurt. And it's like,
Right.
Right. And I think men don't realize how much the patriarchy affects them too, because it's like they're not allowed to feel sad or soft.
anything.
The only acceptable negative emotion is anger. So it's like,
Right.
it's not doing you guys any service
Any
either.
good. Yeah. Sometimes you have to cry. It's fine, bro. You're not
Right.
gonna grow a vagina. Like, it's
Right.
okay.
And even
the
if we
ones
did
that-
grow a vagina, vaginas are
It's
great.
fine.
Like
Then you can fuck yourself and leave the rest of us
There you
alone.
go. And no one has to deal with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It's sad when they do, have healthy emotional, and they're like self-worth and they're self-aware, because then, the men are saying that they're not manly enough. We have
Yeah.
to take the keyboards and microphones away
Away
from
from
men
them.
for
We really
Yeah.
do. And then we
Yeah.
need more podcasts like this too. Like, do you guys know anybody else who has a similar podcast? like non-religious or anti-religion?
There
There's
are some out there,
few.
but
I
we're the
think but I
best,
think we're
so
Yeah.
very unique just with who we are as people
I
and, like,
love the
our
name too.
perspectives. Girls Gone
thank you.
Godless.
Yeah,
We
I
are
love
almost
it.
a different name, actually, and
Yeah.
I don't think we've ever talked about it before, but we were gonna be called, Blessed Be the Bitches, but
Ooh, okay. I like
yeah.
them both. I really like
Yeah.
Girls Gone Godless though, because it definitely
It
like
felt
gets the
more
message across.
important to not have a curse word in the title just for possibly, like, who knows? I mean, we
Yeah,
still curse all
true.
the time, but we're like, maybe it shouldn't be,
Maybe
like,
just not in the
the
title, yeah.
logo.
Front and
Yeah.
Yeah.
center. Yeah, I
Yeah,
totally get
and
it.
then my husband was like, he's like, "I know that women reclaim the word bitches, but, like, I don't think you guys are bitches," and I'm just like
So
That's
Yeah,
cute.
very sweet.
no.
That's
If
so
we could
cute.
have cunt in the name, we would
We
have done
would,
that, but,
yeah,
we
yeah,
can't, so
yeah.
we'd never get a sponsor.
We
Right,
probably never
right.
would. And that's what's interesting about some of these words too. I found out the word queen has a, like etymology and like a word that means like lesser than or something that's like
Oh,
not as important. And the word cunt actually means what we think queen means, which is
well,
interesting. How did they flip that
That's
on
my
us,
favorite
right?
word. I love
And
that
That's
now
so
so
you
much.
great.
know why they
I
try to
love
make
it.
like demonize it because it was actually like
Right.
an empower. I wonder what the actual etymology is. You might have to Google it
That
after,
might be
but
my deep
yeah.
dive later on.
The toxic boy mom trope, I know it's really prevalent in so many religions, but it seems like in Islam in particular, there's this really kind of weird connection between the mom and the son and how that affects how the daughters are treated. So I just wanted to hear your take on that.
Well, it's so complex and the layers are so deep, but to like basically to summarize it, women are born conditioned into thinking that men are superior to them. So when you as a woman have a son, because he's a boy, there's an underlying layer of superiority. And because your husband might be a piece of shit to you, the only other man that has some sort of superiority in your household is your son. So, in order to protect yourself as a woman, you prioritize the son and pedestalize him because of the fact that he's a boy, because you think that it's liberating you in some way to almost submit to this man, even though he came
Mhm.
out of your body. And that's how deep the misogyny is in the Islamic religion, because a boy can at some point have like there's this word called mahram in Arabic, which means like provisioner or provisionary, I guess. Someone who's like almost like a guardian, over a woman. And so if a woman is divorced or her husband's dead or her dad's dead or her uncle's dead or whatever, her son can become her guardian. And because of the fact that like men are so heavily prioritized, they enable this system without even realizing what they're doing because they believe that their son is an authority figure. Then it's sick and it's toxic and it's backwards because obviously the layers cross over between the patriarchy too, where like the
Mhm.
women become the maids of their brothers and their brothers get to go out late and to get to do this and get to do that and the girl can't. But the mother-son relationship has its foundation in this man is superior to me, so I have to worship him, be obsessed with him. And the boys don't realize that that's what's happening. They think that they're just favored over their sisters. So they
Mm.
grow up with a sense of entitlement like, oh, mom loves me more. I'm the golden child. I'm the special one. I get to tell you what to do. They're not understanding why the mother is treating them that way. So they grow up into really entitled men who just repeat the cycle.
With Mormonism, it's crazy how similar they are, and I never really considered it. But yeah, if you're a man in my family, if you have a penis, like you're just automatically so far above us. Like the different treatment is just absolutely insane. So I
And
relate to that.
I just don't understand that though, because the penis, like, you can easily disable a man just by kicking him in the balls, you know?
Right,
Right.
right.
Like, if we're talking superiority, like, how is the vagina not more superior? Like, it bleeds for multiple days every single month
Right.
without dying. That alone
Right.
should make it more superior.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
meanwhile, I gotta just go like this one time and you're on the ground for 3 minutes. Like,
Yes.
Like,
Right. It's just all dangling out there, not good
I pushed
design.
a whole human
Not good
out.
design. You push a
No.
whole human out, exactly.
And
Yep.
it's back to normal. Like, what do you
Yeah.
mean? A whole human came out of me.
Right.
A whole human grew inside of you, like, consciousness
Yes.
grew.
Right.
That's another thing that I hate when men, like, downplay pregnancy too. They'll just, like, in Islam specifically, they'll be like, "Heaven lies beneath your mother's feet," which is like your mother is, like, your source of heaven, and so being a mother is a very honorable thing because they just really gaslight and brainwash young girls into becoming mothers with this phrase, but then they'll turn around and disrespect a woman who is pregnant in the same breath because she's not making her husband a sandwich quick enough or something.
Right.
And it's like, wait, well, like, how am I supposed to be growing a real person inside of me and also serving a grown ass capable man at the same time? You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
there's nothing
No.
wrong with serving your husband, making a sandwich for him, whatever. Like, I think that those are acts of love for sure. But when it's enforced through this idea that God wants it to be, and it's your duty, and you must,
Mhm.
and you're sinful, and you're allowed to be punished if you don't abide by this, then it becomes less about, okay, I'm doing this because I love you, and more about, I'm your slave and you're my master. Here you go. Here's a sandwich. Like,
Right.
and who wants to be in a relationship with someone like that either? I dated a guy that was like kind of a simp to like at some point, and sometimes I was just like, questioning, like, why are you doing too much for me? Like, this is pissing me off. Like, stop. Like, I can't imagine being constantly flattered by that, and that being the thing that I'm seeking in a relationship, which is what most men are and get flattered by, but then they get easily bored by it at the same time. And
Mhm.
then they go and they pursue the woman that's hard to please. We don't respect people who just blindly follow us and obey us and listen to our command and whatever. There's no way for us to believe that God would respect that either. Unless God is, I don't know, like God like simps. I don't know.
I mean, he does. He
But
does, though, right? Because, like,
he
at least in
does.
Christianity, the whole thing is that we were created to serve and worship God. So, like, if he made us to just serve and I don't know. It could,
Worship him, then he
yeah,
must like simps.
yeah.
That's a
He,
good video conversation for later.
like, he
Right.
just wants people that just are gonna bow down to his,
Every
Yeah.
everything.
desire.
I
Yeah.
think there's something there with, like, we can convince religious men that they're just being simps and they're weak, and maybe that might trigger something in them because they
That it's
hate
not
being weak,
alpha
you know?
for them to worship
Right,
a
because they don't
man.
they don't
Right.
care that they're
Sounds
controlling women. They
gay.
don't care that it harms them. Right. I'm like, it's a little gay that you kind of worship a man. I don't know.
Right.
A male
And
figure, yeah.
With
we
long
talk about it all the
hair.
time. Right. Right. Who
Yes,
wears a
Jesus
dress?
was a soy boy.
Where's the dress?
We talk about it that, women create life and you can see it. Like you can see women get pregnant and have babies, but man is the one who created everything. There's no fucking way.
It's like their fantasy of being the life creator.
They just can't handle it. I wanted to ask a little while ago, and I totally forgot about tithing. Is tithing a big part of Islam, or is that more like a Christian greed thing?
I think tithing specifically is a Christian greed thing, but in
Okay.
Islam, you are supposed to donate 10% of your annual salary. So it's not like every time you go to the mosque, you don't have to donate. No, nobody's going to force you to, and there's no payment involved for attending the mosque. But on a personal, individual basis, one of the foundations of being Muslim is donating 10% of your annual salary to a charity. So most people will
Mhm.
do it when they do their taxes, and then I don't know where the money goes,
So you can pick
but
charity?
yeah. Yeah, you pick the charity, you pick where it
Wow.
goes.
That's a lot better.
Yeah, I think so too, because it's between you and God, and it's not about like, oh, look at me, I'm donating. But I do think that sometimes, like when they would do fundraisers and things like that, there would be pressure to donate, but it was never mandatory.
Interesting. Yeah. Aaliyah, can you quickly share what it was like tithing in the Mormon church and what happens at the end of the
Yeah.
year if you don't? Yeah, because I
Yeah.
think she would. be
Oh
interesting.
my
Yeah.
God, let's hear
Yeah.
this.
Okay. So Noe mentioned she grew up Mormon, so she was like a Mormon child, but like I was Mormon as an adult. So that's also like
Oh,
where
okay.
the differentiation lies. So as an adult, you are expected to pay 10% of your tithe to the Mormon church. So they have official little tithing slips, and those go into an envelope. And like it's one of the carbon copy papers. So you fill out one side, you
Wow.
tear off a piece. It's a very official thing. And so the church has a record of how much you've tithed over the year, and you also have a record of how much you've tithed over the year. And then at the end of the year, you go to your bishop for a meeting, and it's called tithe settlement. So you're supposed to bring like your W-2 or your pay stub with you to see like how much you made that year, and
Right.
they confirm that you have tithed appropriately your 10% of your
No
income
way.
for the year. And if not, you are expected to cut a check like right then and there. And that's to remain in good standing with the church. And so, what that means, if you're in good standing with the church, you are able to hold what they call a temple recommend. And the temple is seen as the place where you do like the highest level of spiritual ordinances. So, to be like able to be accepted into the highest level of heaven, you have to be a temple holding member. So in order to have your temple recommend, you have to be in good standing financially with the church in order to
So if
reach
you're
the
poor,
highest
you're
level.
going to hell.
Well, you're going to the lowest level of heaven.
Heaven.
You're going to the
Yeah.
poor people heaven. That's where you're
Yeah.
Yeah.
going.
Pretty
Yeah,
much.
that's where I'll
And
be.
so the other thing about that that's like really just, I mean, there's a lot of it that's just really messed up. But if you are not in good financial standing with the church, then you are also not eligible for what they call church welfare. So if you do just so happen to like fall on hard times and you need money or food, that the church has an allotted budget to give out to members. And they also have what's called the bishop's storehouse. So it's basically like a place where you can go get food. But if you're not in good financial standing with the church, you are not eligible to receive that help.
So it's a
Is
business.
that? Mhm.
Oh, 100%.
It's a business. It's not a religion.
It's not a religion at all. It's a business. We
That's
did a deep dive
crazy.
into the church finances, and they have $300 billion in assets currently, and 200 billion of that is managed by an investment firm. And so since, of course, the church is operated in the United States, all of that money is tax-free. This is a whole other tangent, and I really do want to wrap up here. But like, so like we mentioned earlier, like Mormons can't drink coffee, can't can't smoke tobacco, can't gamble, not really supposed to have energy drinks. But when I was looking at the money that the church has invested through its investment portfolio, it has investments in Dr. Pepper, which owns Keurig, the coffee
Oh,
pod business.
wow.
They also had, I don't think they currently do anymore, but they also had investment in Philip Morris, which is the tobacco company. So like the church is using the money that the members are tithing, the members who are not allowed to have coffee, they're using that to invest money into these companies that go
That's
against what
crazy.
the church teaches. So it's
Right.
some really deep levels of
It's insane.
Really weird.
hypocrisy. Yeah, it's very strange.
It's like what Christina said, it's an MLM.
Yeah,
That's
Right.
really what
yeah,
it is. And at the highest level, they're all MLMs. Yeah, and they
yeah,
all
Right.
benefit from you recruiting more people
yeah,
just so the
To get
people
into
at the top
heaven.
can have, yeah, to get into
yeah,
heaven. You know,
yeah.
the interesting thing about heaven too is that, like, why do we have to wait to die to have a good time?
Right, because it's
Mhm.
not real. Sorry,
Because it's not
spoiler
real.
alert.
Spoiler
Spoiler
alert, because it
alert.
doesn't
Sorry,
exist.
You heard
guys.
it here first on Girls Gone
My
Godless.
bad.
Heaven's not real.
That is such an insane thing to me to realize is that like we have to wait until heaven to have luxury or to have like material things. I heard it explained to me one time. It was like a lady was like, "How are we supposed to have material things when we don't have our material body anymore?" And that
Mhm.
really got me thinking because a lot of what motivates people to worship God and to be good people is the reward of material things at the end of their life.
Right.
But if you lose your body in order to die, then how are you going to accumulate material things without a material body, you know?
I
Right.
just picture like in the movies, when there's a ghost like trying to pick up a cup, you're like all
their
the
hands
shit that you
passing
ever
through.
wanted, and they're just like trying to grab it, and it's like, haha.
You're like trying to pick up one of the 72 virgins that you're promised in
Yeah.
Islam, and you can't because you're,
They're all holograms.
yeah. But like on the flip side of that, why should I be afraid of hell if the whole thing is that you're burning? But if you don't have a physical body and you don't have a nervous system, does it hurt?
Does it hurt?
Like, this
Does
is a
it
thing that
hurt?
like I hadn't like thought about
It's
until
so
recently.
true.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm not afraid of hell
That's a
because
really good question.
if I don't have a body,
Right.
yeah.
It's such a great business model that they promise all of these things that they never have to deliver on. So they're like, give us your money, give us all of your time, all of your energy, and I promise you, later, you're going to get all of the rewards. No,
Right.
no proof.
Fingers crossed behind their back.
At the end of the podcast, we like to play a fun little game just because sometimes we talk about some more serious things. And so we play a game called 7 Minutes in Heaven. We ask these 7 questions and get your silly answers, and we just laugh a little bit. So are you down?
Okay. Yeah, super down. Let's do it.
Question number 1, fuck, marry, kill. Jinn, which is that like a genie in Islam, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So that's 1. Moses, but he won't set down the tablets, and then or a random man who's riding a camel in the desert.
Oh my God. Fuck, marry, kill. Okay. Okay, definitely fuck the Jen. Yeah.
That'd be an experience. Yeah.
Marry Moses, because if he doesn't put the tablets down, then I can do whatever I want.
And he can't touch you.
Period. And kill the random man in the desert, because why would a man be there?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 2.
That's my favorite answer ever. Why would a man be there?
Why would he be there?
Right.
Just why would
Why
he
would
be
a man be
there?
anywhere?
Okay, continue.
Okay. Number 2. What was the most ridiculous thing that you believed in terms of scripture or doctrine in your past religious life?
Oh my God. Damn, there's so many. Well, specifically, I think that, like, in the context of Islam, it's very widely accepted that the Prophet Muhammad was illiterate. And the way that the angel Gabriel revealed the verses to him was after he had spent 40 days in a cave by himself. So I just found it absolutely insane that a man who spent 40 days in a cave and couldn't read or write got direct communication from God, but none of the people who could read and write and weren't living in a cave by themselves for 40
Right.
days didn't get any revelations from
Right. He was
God.
just going a little stir crazy from the isolation.
Yeah. Okay,
Right.
so basically it
So
is
yeah.
Mormonism because Joseph Smith was also supposedly illiterate. Like he only had a very low level of education and he wrote the Book of Mormon. So like it's basically the same thing. Cool.
So interesting.
Yeah. In your opinion, who is the hottest deity? And this can be from any mythological pantheon, any religion, any culture.
Interesting. I don't think I've ever been asked this question before. Is Cleopatra considered a deity? I don't think so.
Sure. I mean,
Is
she's
she?
a real figure, but I'll take it.
I love Cleopatra because she was a badass. She spoke 9 languages. She was really intelligent. My favorite story about her is the fact that like she wanted to go to Rome to see Julius Caesar, but she knew that like they would probably kill her if she just like walked up on him. So she rolled herself up in a carpet that was on a boat to Italy. And she knew that the carpet was going to get delivered to Julius Caesar's castle. And so like when they delivered it, she rolled out and like was like, "Phil, it's me."
Here I am.
Yeah, and I think
that's
that
awesome.
Cleopatra has a lot of the goddess energy of Isis also. So I don't know if she was Isis reincarnated or what, but her story always appeals to me. So I'm gonna have to go with Cleopatra.
I love it.
Oh, that's a
Yeah.
good one.
Yeah.
Number 4, what's your Jello salad? And basically what this means is in Mormonism, Jello salad is like the dish that's at every potluck, every gathering, whatever. And for me, it's still a guilty pleasure of something that I enjoy. So do you have a dish from your upbringing in Islam that you still enjoy today or that you would still make today?
I mean, I grew up in Canada, and the thing about Canada is like we were never separated by ethnicity because everyone was an immigrant in Canada. So in the mosque, when we would do the Ramadan dinners, we would have food from all different ethnicities. And one of the things that I remember my siblings and I used to routinely go back for was samosas. I don't know if you
Yeah.
guys have ever
Oh,
tried
yeah.
samosas.
Oh,
Mhm.
yeah.
Freaking
Oh,
love
yeah.
samosas.
My cat is named Pakora, like, the fried
Oh, that's so
veggies. Yeah.
cute.
Oh, big Indian food fan.
That is
Yeah.
so cute. I love it. Yes,
Yeah.
they're kind of similar, but yeah, samosas.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with
I
samosas.
love that. If you were to start a cult today, what would the uniform be?
Oh my god, I love these questions. I've never thought about this before. Damn, I don't think about starting my own cult, but if I did, everyone would have to be in a belly dancing outfit.
Hell yeah, I love this. Sign me up. Yeah.
That's hot.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
would. That would be the cult. It's just belly dancing.
I love it. I love it.
That would be so hot too. Like, how would you be mad at a
Mhm.
group of
Yeah.
people in belly
Right?
dancing
Just like
outfits?
For
arguing about
sure.
people
Allowed.
just living their
No
best
men allowed,
life.
exactly.
Yeah.
Or the men have to wear the belly dancing outfit too.
Right?
Oh my
Okay.
god, that would be so
Uh,
funny.
Number 6, what's your favorite curse word?
Motherfucker.
And then our very last question, what is your guilty pleasure?
Kind of is a guilty pleasure, but kind of not. But I love to be stoned all day and eat.
Hell yeah.
And when I have nothing to do, that is exactly what I do. And sometimes I'm like, I shouldn't roll another
When do you
one.
not have anything to do though? Because your life just is like, you
Right.
seem so
Feel like I could ask
busy.
you
Thank
500
you.
more questions. So if you ever want to come back, I
I
still
would
have
love
so much I
to.
want to ask you.
I would
Yay.
love to. Thank you guys for having me. I would be more
Come
than
back
happy to come on again.
anytime.
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 This was
I really enjoyed
perfect.
talking to you guys. It was amazing. Thank you. Thank you
Yeah,
so
Thank
much
thank
you
you.
for
so much.
giving me
Of
the
course.
space. And I'm sure you learned a lot of new things, and so did
I
I.
learned so many new things,
Yes.
and we'll include like your socials and all of your links in the
Awesome.
show notes. But if you want to like plug anything that you're working on, we can,
Sure. Okay, I'll tell you. So, I'm an artist, I mentioned that, but I sometimes really struggle to write music. So in October, I decided to do a 30-day songwriting challenge, and I called it Thrival Mode, which is the opposite of survival mode. And the reason why is because a lot of people write music about the
Mhm.
struggle, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it's hard for other people who are struggling to consume songs about struggling. So I turned my pain into passion and I wrote 30 affirmational songs. So
love
that's what I'm
this.
working on currently. I wrote them on live on TikTok every day for 30 days in October.
Wow.
And I created a separate
Amazing.
TikTok page for that. It's called Eman Got a Life. So
Awesome.
that one is where I post all my music. So if you want to plug that
Perfect.
one in as well, that would be
Oh,
awesome.
sure.
Yeah.
It's definitely hard to record 30 songs, but
No
writing it
kidding.
was okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't even do one, so I'm amazed.
Right.
And I know you have like a
Thanks.
website and all of that, so we'll just link all of that and you can find
Perfect.
it in the notes.
My website is imangetalife.com. I'll put it there too.
All right. Thank
Well,
you so
ladies, thank you
much.
so much for your time. I
Thank
really
you.
enjoyed
Thank
speaking with you
you.
all, and I'm so excited to see this episode live.
Hallelujah, I am saved, I'm so glad I